they take track of students' performance, most specifically student performance based on countries, so that they will decide on the quota of students that they will take from specific countries next time. So if it's noticed that students from your country are noted for not always being in the lab, it is automatically going to influence future intakes from your country.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So today I'll be explaining why some people fail in their KOICA application. So this is because I've received messages from my Facebook page and my WhatsApp and my YouTube. So rather than me answering everyone individually, I decided that I should make this short video. I'm going to make it really short. So KOICA interviews are ongoing, and I think this week is going to be the last week for the KOICA interview. So if you've not yet received any information from KOICA, maybe this video is for you. So you might want to stick around and listen to the end of the video. The first reason applies to every university in Korea, not just KOICA scholarship. It applies to every scholarship. It is important to note that every university or every scholarship provider in Korea, they take track of students' performance, most specifically student performance based on countries, so that they will decide on the quota of students that they will take from specific countries next time. So you have to take that into account, that universities in Korea do track students' performance based on the country. So if you're coming from a country where the students usually come to Korea but they're not serious with their studies, know that it will affect the quota of students that will be taken from your country next time. That's automatic. The second reason is that every university in Korea is research intensive, which means if you're coming for any specific program, most especially in the science, the research fields, you are required to always be in the professor's lab, let's say every weekday, and sometimes even on weekends. If the professor deems it necessary for you to be in that lab, you need to be there, unless you have a reason not to be there and you have to make the professor know why you cannot be there. If you're supposed to be in that lab and you're not there, and most especially if it is noticed that students from a particular country, that, let's say if you're coming from a country that is eligible for the KOICA scholarship, if it's noticed that students from your country are noted for not always being in the lab, it is automatically going to influence future intakes from your country. So it is important to know that if you're coming for KOICA, know that you're bearing your country's flag. Know that your behavior might affect future applicant for KOICA scholarship. Let's say it is noticed that students from, let's say, North Korea, because I don't want to index any country that is in the dark list of KOICA recipients. If you're coming from North Korea, of course we know that North Korea is not eligible for KOICA scholarship, but if they notice that students from North Korea are always absent, they are always absent in the professor's lab, it is automatic. Next time during the KOICA application, it will affect their quota. They might decide not to even take students from that country, or they might decide to reduce the quota and then increase the quota of another country where the students are performing well. Second reason is slightly linked to the first one. Like I said, every university in Korea is research intensive, which means you will be required to be in the lab doing research and maybe carrying out experiments, and you will be required to do scholarly publications and then publish them in international journals. Maybe you might be required to maybe publish 2 or 3 papers, or maybe even more. It all depends on the program. If you cannot meet up with your scholarly publications, then automatically it will be considered that you cannot carry out research. And again, if it is noticed that students from a particular country are noted for not being able to always carry out scholarly publication, it will automatically affect the number of students that will be admitted into that scholarship program for that specific program. It's 2 ways actually. It's either if you're coming for a specific scholarship program, they would reduce the number of students from that particular country for that program, or they will not even take students for that particular program from that country. They would rather hand it over to another country where the students are performing better. Third one is equally kind of linked to the second one. It equally has to do with specific program. Let's say if you're coming for agriculture, if you're coming to a university that is offering agriculture under KOICA at the master's or even PhD level, and the professors, because normally it's not going to be one professor, students will be placed under specific professors for research purposes. So you'll actually be working with that professor. If the professors in agriculture notice that students from a particular country again are not serious in their studies, they will automatically reduce the quota of students, or they will not even take students for agriculture from that particular country in their next admission process. So sometimes it might be silent, and know that it's two-way. It's either the university would decide not to take, or the embassy in your country would decide not to take, because like I said, they keep track of students' performance. That's why even after graduation, they are still in contact with your government agency to see if what you learned in Korea, you're able to apply it back home to help in the development of your home country. So you have to be very careful when you're coming in for any KOICA program to make sure that you defend your country well, so that it does not affect future applicants for that particular program during the next application intake. The third reason is also very important. KOICA never excludes any country. So like I said, I don't want to index any country, but KOICA does not exclude any country from the 62 that member countries that are eligible for this program. What they would do is they would either reduce the number of students for a particular master's or PhD program, or they would not take students for a particular program, but they will take students from that country for another program, because they've seen that when students go in for that program from that particular country, they always perform well. So like I said, it boils down to the fact that they're keeping track. Let's say if you're coming in for agriculture in any university that provides agriculture under KOICA, and students from a particular country go for that program and they are not serious, they might decide not to take students from that country for agriculture. But when they go in for something like, let's say, artificial intelligence, and then they are performing, those who apply for that particular program will be accepted, because they've noticed that when they go in for that program, they do well. So it goes on to explain the fact that no country is excluded, but they can reduce the quota of students for a particular program, or they might not take students for that program at all, but they might take students for another program based on their tracking system on students' performance. So okay guys, that's the 4 reasons as to why you might not have received any mail or call from KOICA about your application. And it is important to know that the second phase of KOICA application is ongoing, and this time around they have 2 PhD programs. They have one in artificial intelligence, I guess, from Hanyang University, and then they equally have one in capacity building for climate reform, I guess. And then they have some master's programs where they have prolonged the application period. So why don't you take advantage of scholarship and apply? Like I said, there is always a possibility for you to gain knowledge freely, even when you don't have the income. All what matters is for you to have the right information on how to go about gaining education. despite not having the means. Countries and universities are always there, always ready to take students who are ready to acquire knowledge. So if you've not yet subscribed to my channel, or you're not yet following my Facebook page, please make sure you do. And then if you have any questions, make sure you leave them down on the comment section. I'll be more than ready to respond to every questions. And then if you have anything in particular that you want me to cover about South Korea, please let me know. I'll be more than willing to do it. Thank you. See you in the next video.